Hello everyone, my name is Clantus and welcome to the clan. So without further ado, let's get into this video. But before we get into the video, yeah, you already know, right? You already know what I'm about to say, so then do it. What are you waiting for? Why you want me to be the one that tells you? Smash the like button. And then, if you are watching without subscribing, hey, the clan is moving. You are going to be left behind, because every time I upload a video, you might not get a notification. So subscribe and then click the bell notification so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Today was an incredibly busy day in the South African courts, starting in Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, going to the North Gauteng High Court, which already we've covered that, what had happened there today. I'm still recovering from laughter. If you guys don't know anything about me, one thing about me is that I love to laugh. The reason why I'm such a free-spirited person is because I love laughing. But anyways, let's go to the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, where Nandipha Magudumana appeared once again to continue with her bail application. And of course, her defense lawyers did not complete their argument about why Nandipha Magudumana is in an interest of justice to release her on bail. And then, of course, they stated the reasons that she is not a flight risk. And the reason why she's not a flight risk is because all of her traveling documents have been seized by the state. And secondly, she has strong family ties with her family, and she is no way going to abandon them and run to another country or abandon her trial. She talked about being a mother to two minor children that she is a sole caregiver to. And in my mind, I'm thinking, wait a minute, but according to Section 28 of the Children's Act, I think even in Section 40 of the Children's Act, talks about where a sole caregiver is a mother who either separated from the father of the children and they live separately, one of the parents have visitation rights, or maybe there's a divorce and the other parent is not involved in the children's life, either financially, emotionally, and parentally. So, of course, then the court will add that as a mitigating circumstance that indeed the applicant is a sole caregiver of the minor children. But as far as I understand, Nandipha Magudumana is still married to Mr. Magudumana, or did I get it all wrong? I know that Thabo Bester at some point paid a lobola of 60,000 rand to Nandipha's father, but how do you pay lobola? Okay, anyways, I'm not quite sure. Please, guys, do remind me, because I don't remember Magudumana, and the evidence to that as well is that she's still using the Magudumana surname. I know that some divorcee women still keep the surname of the former husbands. So please balance me on that one, because I was a little bit confused when that was brought in court, that she is a sole caregiver of her minor children, yet the father, whom she is still married to, is the one that is living with the children, and he's a doctor. So that was a little bit surprising for me, and I think also it was a blunder, because the court can look at this as misleading information or misleading the court to manipulate it into giving her or releasing her on bail. So the crux of the defense case, I would say, is the fact that she is brought on the wrong schedule. Remember, the state has charged her on Schedule 5 offenses, meaning that it is on her. The burden of proof is on her to prove to the court that she is not a flight risk, and that on a balance of probabilities, it's in the interest of justice to release her on bail, and of course give her some strict bail conditions in order for her to stick around. And I heard some assets, immovable assets that she has, they're worth millions of rands, and yet she says she can only afford 10,000 rand bail. And I'm saying, if the magistrate, let's say the state did do a blunder, so much so that the magistrate has no any other choice but to release Nandipha Magudumana in the interest of justice on bail, make it a 2 million rand, or better yet, 5 million rand. She's a millionaire. From what we understand, she and Thabo Bester allegedly are quite of billionaires. 5 million rand bail, and then we call it a day. That is if the magistrate is persuaded enough to grant her bail, or whatever the whole the interest of justice and things of that nature. The other thing that the defense is adamant about is the charge of corruption. They say it does not meet the requirement or the minimum requirement for that to be considered as corruption under Schedule 5, because the one that is mentioned in the state affidavit is 85,000 rand, and in some point is 40,000 rand, yet the accusation is of 2.5 million rand. Now, the threshold, as we know, according to Schedule 5, is an amount of 500,000 rand in corruption. And therefore, then it becomes a Schedule 5 offense, where the applicant will have to prove on a balance of probabilities that they are not a flight risk, and that it's in the that is in the interest of justice to release her on bail. Then her third argument is about how she landed in Tanzania. As you guys know, that she's accused Thabo Bester that he took her under duress to Tanzania against her will. He used some sort of force, and then she was terrified and defenseless in taking action against Thabo Bester. Of course, the state wanted to know in its own case in opposing bail on Nandipha Magudumana, and said, why didn't she open a criminal case of kidnapping all this time? But one thing they forgot to think about is that it's halal, if you know what I mean. That means if a criminal offense happened to you 10 years ago, and the offender is still alive, you can still open a criminal case against your offender. So it doesn't rot. A criminal case does not rot. There is no statute of limitation. It's not like in a civil case where the statute of limitation or limitation of that particular offense is, I think it's 2 or 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. But when it comes to a criminal matter, there is no statute of limitation. 20 years, 30 years, 50 years later, you can still open a case against your offender. Whoever that perpetrated a crime against you, you can still go and open a case. Which is correct, by the way, what Nandipha Magudumana's defense lawyers said in response to that, that no, at the time she was probably still traumatized, and they can come up with all kinds of reasons as to why it took her all this time to finally speak out about her kidnapping by Thabo Bester to outside of the country, where they ended up in Tanzania, and there she was brought back from, and still also accuses South Africa of kidnapping her from Tanzania, which is a case that is now sitting in the Supreme Court of Appeal awaiting a hearing. So it's quite interesting. I would say that she's using the word kidnapping quite loosely, and everything now is about her, how she was taken under duress against her will and all of that stuff. So I'm not quite sure how the magistrates took that, because I think it did score her a point when in her defense to the state, and saying, I was still traumatized and I was still trying to gather my bravado before I could make the statement that I was taken against my will. You can't argue that. The state also can't argue that and say it's a lie. So same goes with the magistrate. The magistrate will be also left with the position where they'll be like, yeah, she's got a point. And then the state on the other side then said, well, she misled the court by giving the court a wrong residential address. If she is released on bail, this is where she will be based. Apparently, that address that she gave is not exactly fake, but it's an address where she doesn't live and nobody lives there. And that is going to be very interesting to the magistrate, how exactly they are going to rule on that particular residential address that she has granted. However, though, the defense did come and put up a very strong defense on that particular residential address, and said she's not a flight risk. That's the address that she is going to be based at. She's not going to evade trial. She's not going to run away. She doesn't have any traveling documents that will enable her to skip trial. So they did go on a very long explanation about this particular residential address. I don't think the court is going to be very happy with the fact that there is a questionable residential address, because the court needs to know where can you be found if ever you evade, or maybe you do not come to court, or you forget to attend your trial, so that when they issue a warrant of arrest, where exactly will they get you? That is why I am saying put or set the bail at 5 million rand. That is a lot of money for you to skip your trial. So in essence, if you are listening to the defense, all that they want from the magistrate is to change the schedule from Schedule 5 to Schedule 1, where the state will be the one that has to prove on the balance of probabilities as to why Nandipha Magudumana is not in the best interest, is not in the interest of justice to release her on bail. So to throw in that caveat and all the other discrepancies that when you read the state's affidavit, you are thinking, chances of Magudumana getting bail are pretty good. I will not say large, or they're pretty good. It's a 50-50 as far as I am concerned, because the defense submitted to court that the state amended its affidavit illegally, and then it put a version of the investigating officer regarding the charges that are stated in the charge sheet that is before the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, and of course they want that to be thrown out and the schedule changed into Schedule 1, where now the burden of proof lies with the state to prove beyond a reasonable doubt why. This is not a trial. This is a bail application where Nandipha Magudumana does not necessarily have to speak too much. She must not reveal her aces up her sleeve either. She reserves the right to remain silent. That is why she is not going to disclose her arguments or heads of argument. However, because the state is opposing bail, they are the ones that needed to submit their heads of argument. And of course, the state, they did do their heads of argument, basically closing their case today. And they, of course, they did close their case today and argued exactly what we just talked about right now, that they're opposing bail on Nandipha Magudumana because she is a flight risk, and then she's a liar, and all those sort of stuff that they had said about her. And today also is her birthday. We did see her father in court together with her brother. They brought her cake, and I'm not quite sure where this cake was eaten, because it looked like it was already half eaten, and she turned 35 years old. And yeah, it's very sad to watch her, knowing that she's got two minor children who are supposed to be enjoying their mother's birthday together as a family, and yet she's in court fighting for her freedom. And lastly, that bail is not a determination of guilt or innocence. This again, all of those things are going to be argued once the case is transferred to the High Court, and this is where now she'll be able to reveal her aces up the sleeve regarding why she is innocent and all of that stuff. And I cannot wait for that to come about. So now, if you asked me, if I was a magistrate in this particular hearing, I would be so torn apart. I would not know what to do, because both the state and the defense, they made some really, really good points. And then I think the reason why the magistrate herself, which I think she and I being in the same position after listening to these submissions, I think she's also torn, because I would not think that this is a matter that you need to decide on after so many days. It's something that you could have decided the very same day, like today. By 2 o'clock, the magistrate would have made her decision whether she grants Magudumana bail or denies her bail. But no, the magistrate does what? She adjourns the court until the 11th of September, which is next week, Tuesday, where she's going to deliver her judgment. My suspicion is she's just torn, as I would also be torn, and therefore she went under advisement. By going under advisement, this is where now she's going to people or experts around this issue, like, how exactly she should rule on this matter. So I think she's going to have a bunch of advisors, like experienced judges. I'm thinking along those lines, maybe High Court judges or Supreme Court of Appeal judges or even the Constitutional Court judges. They are going to advise her on which route to take. So I don't know. At this point, for me, I'm like, anyone can actually win this one. But if I really have to say, like, if I have to put my neck on the block once again, I would say Nandipha Magudumana has a good chance of getting granted bail because of the blunders the state made, especially if the court agrees that these charges are not Schedule 5 charges, they are that of Schedule 1. And of course, if that is converted from 5 to 1, she walks, right? And then the next time we see Nandipha Magudumana will be in the Bloemfontein High Court when the trial begins. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm just putting my head on the line here, on the chopping block, and saying she might actually win this one because the state did make some blunders. And I have asked some questions, like why would the state, the prosecutor is so well experienced. I saw him today, he was all emotional, like almost shouting. And I was like, dude, calm down. You're the one who wrote this affidavit now. It's being challenged. You are actually screaming. And I get it. But there were some blunders that were committed, especially the amendment of the affidavit. I don't think he explained it very well, according to me. Like, how did you commit that crime, I would say. But anyways, guys, those are my thoughts. If you like the video, give it a like. If you didn't like the video, give it a like anyways. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget to click the bell notification so you get notified every time I upload a new video. My super thanks are turned on. Thank you so very much to everybody that is super thanking the channel and supporting it financially. Highly appreciated. Thank you all for your kindness. And also leave me a comment down below. I'll highly appreciate it. If I heard your own predictions, what did you think while you were watching? What did you hear that you think you would rule in this way? Don't apply your emotions. Apply the law and the facts that are placed before you. How would you rule as a magistrate? Let's play that game. Let's see what you guys are going to say. Make me feel better, please. And then also share this video far and wide. Thank you all so much for watching and supporting this channel. If you have not subscribed yet, subscribe and please watch the ads. Thank you. Goodbye.